My friends, I had a problem. I'm working with my VA. She's been with me for years. And honestly, if she left the business, I'd probably be completely lost. But there's one thing that kept happening, and I wasn't really sure how to solve this problem. So she uploads my podcast episodes and YouTube videos to YouTube for me, and she usually copies the text out of either a Google Doc or a Notion doc, depending on the type of episode it is and how I've had to share those resources with people. The problem is when you copy text from Notion or Google Docs to YouTube, it just takes the plain text, which means that there are no links in what she's pasting. And that's a problem because usually I have a link to some resource or show notes or something like that. And while I have a way to solve this problem for me, I needed something more friendly for her. So I vibe coded a solution, and today I'm going to show you how it works. Okay, so first, let me show you the problem, right? If we go down here to this video, this interview I did with Charlie Guo, we have the text here. And if I did just include a straight URL, that obviously gets converted, but like this should link to a resource and the show notes should link to a resource. So you can see the original document here, right? We've got the business overwhelm diagnostic links to something, and then we have an unordered list of links for the show notes. And the same thing is true if we look in Notion, right? Through when you copy this stuff out of Notion and into YouTube, it does not work. Now, my solution for this is actually having a shortcut through Apple Shortcuts. The button is mapped to my Stream Deck, and what it does is it just replaces all occurrences of the markdown link format with nothing, essentially, or maybe a dash. And that's a really simple solution for me. But the reason that does not work for my VA is because she doesn't use Apple Shortcuts. She doesn't use Mac at all, actually. She doesn't have the apps that I'm using here, and she doesn't have a Stream Deck. So trying to give this to her or explaining it to her in such a way that would make sense, I think, for someone who's not familiar with Markdown would be difficult. So I decided to vibe code a solution. So let me show you what that looks like. And I'm just going to tell you here, I'm really proud of myself for this actually. I had some time by myself in the cigar shop yesterday, and I didn't bring my laptop, but I had my phone, and the Yankee game was on a rain delay. And so I said, let me just see if I could do this from here. And so I largely vibe coded this from my phone, like testing it in like some web-based HTML and JavaScript editor, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just kind of proud of myself for that. So let's actually dive into this. So I started with this prompt. I'd like a simple conversion web app that will take text copied from either Notion or a Google Doc and convert the links to something that is YouTube description friendly. I suspect this could be done with JavaScript. Notion copies from Markdown, but I don't need the formatting. Just name of link dash URL. For Google Docs, it will likely be rich text. I then get positive feedback from ChatGPT, that's what I used, confirming what I want. Now, I messed up here. You'll see this in a second. I say just name of link dash URL. And so this is doing exactly what I've told it to do. And it's even telling me, but I'm doing this from my phone, so I'm not really paying attention. And it gives me the HTML and the vanilla. It looks like vanilla JavaScript. This is, I should say, like, this is in a project called Coding Projects where I tell it use vanilla JavaScript unless I otherwise note to use something else. So this is doing a pretty simple search using regular expressions, something that, though I developed software for 20 years, never really fully understood. And it will create a list of the links. The output for this was just the link list. So like play code, I think, is the thing I was using. And then I just want empty HTML, paste this. Let's tell it to use a white background so I can actually see it. So like if I were to copy this text and paste it into the playground converter, it just gives me a list of the links. So that was a bad prompt on my part. So I said, This is great. I'm sorry. I actually want all the text with the links converted. I just don't need the other formatting since YouTube doesn't support it. Again, this is imprecise and you'll see why in a second, but this was okay. I want the description, right? So gonna copy this code. Again, the JavaScript function gets a little bit more complicated and then it's telling me what it's outputting. Okay, so I'll paste this in here. I've got the text. I'll go copy the Charlie Guo description again. And okay, so this again, it did exactly what I asked. I just want the text and the links, but there's no line breaks between any of this. And so it's unreadable. So then I say, okay, this is great. When there's a list, unordered or ordered, can you add an asterisk to the beginning of each item? When I paste in Google Doc, it does the conversion, but we lose the line spacing. So this only happened with Google Docs. It didn't have for whatever reason it didn't happen with Notion. I would like to keep the spacing so paragraphs, etc. New lines should convert to 2 new lines. So preserve the line breaks, handle list items, and then still convert the URL, strip out other formatting. So great. It came up with again, slightly more complicated version, and then it gives me an example of the output that I should get. So if I copy this and paste it into the playground and then copy the Charlie Guo text again, I should get something closer to what I want. Yeah, this is great. I don't usually copy the summary, so we can ignore that. But we've got the spacing. We don't have the spacing for headlines. So like that's a slight issue with this one. But we're getting closer to a solution here. Okay, last thing, I think we're ready. Can we add 2 new lines before and after lists? All of the text currently runs together. This was also imprecise because it was actually like after headlines that I wanted this. So I could iterate on this a little bit to take that into account. And then it gives me this version with the example output. And that was the last of it. So I'm not going to copy this into the playground anymore because I actually have this up and running. I'll link this in the description. It's over at josie.pro/YT links. That's a redirect to my GitHub pages. GitHub pages is probably where I'll probably do like a vibe coding series or just like stuff on vibe coding, and all of that will live over on GitHub pages. I'm well on the record for my feelings about vibe coding, but I think it's really good for prototypes and little utilities. I'm less for using it for full-fledged web or applications, right? So like this is a perfect utility for vibe coding. Most of my vibe coding projects will likely consist of HTML, CSS, and maybe some PHP. I don't know if GitHub Pages supports PHP. So that's generally what I'm thinking here. So let's check out the final product. We'll copy the info from Charlie Guo as I would copy it. So I'm getting rid of the headlines. I'll paste that in here and convert it. And if we look at the conversion, let's give ourselves some more room here. But this is exactly what I asked for. Now, if we go to Notion, we'll get the same thing, I think. And then we'll paste it here. And you can see like there's already more spaces here in the text box that I'm copying from Notion. But this works out to a well-formatted list of links. And so this is what my VA is going to use from now on when she's adding my videos to YouTube to maintain the integrity of the link so that we're not just having like random text. So I guess the last thing I'll do here is actually use this tool to update the video that doesn't have the right link. So I'll copy the Charlie Guo text once more, paste it into my converter, copy the converted text, go back over to YouTube, click edit video, and then replace that text with the properly formatted text with links. So there you go. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely check out the converter below. It is free. You don't have to like do anything to use it. And it's on my GitHub page. So if you want to just grab the code, you can do that too. This was fully vibe coded by ChatGPT. So I'm going to consider that open source. And if you have any questions about vibe coding or creating tools like this, definitely leave them in the comments below. If you like stuff like this, join my newsletter. You can do that over at casabona.org/join. That's casabona.org/join. Be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you find some space in your week.